The sweet nanny Park Seo-yeon uncovers the secret behind the supposed deafness of cold CEO Lee Jin-woo's daughter. What she removes from the girl's ear not only reveals the truth, but shakes the millionaire's world, paving the way for an unexpected romance. The afternoon sun peeked through the playroom curtains, painting the floor with golden stripes as Park Seo-yeon knelt beside Lee Min-ji. The girl, with her large, expressive eyes, was engrossed in a tower of colorful blocks, a peculiar silence filling the space. A silence Seo-yeon was already beginning to question. She had spent the last hour observing Min-ji, trying to communicate through gentle gestures and smiles, feeling a connection that went beyond words. As Min-ji leaned to pick up a block, a subtle movement caught Seo-yeon's attention, an almost imperceptible glint in the girl's right ear, something that seemed out of place. It wasn't wax, nor a shadow. It was something small, dark, almost camouflaged. Seo-yeon frowned, curiosity and a pang of concern growing in her chest. "Min-ji, dear," she whispered, even knowing the girl wouldn't hear her. With the delicacy of someone touching a butterfly, Seo-yeon moved a strand of hair from the child's forehead and leaned in a little closer. "Let Seo-yeon see here, Min-ji, feeling the closeness and gentle touch, lifted her face, her brown eyes meeting Seo-yeon's. There was no fear, just a childlike curiosity. Seo-yeon smiled reassuringly, and with the tip of her index finger, tried to touch the small protrusion. It was a tiny, almost spherical object, which seemed to be lodged right at the entrance of the ear canal, but not so deeply as to cause obvious pain. It looked like a coffee bean or a small plastic bead. With her heart beating faster, Seo-yeon decided to act. She wasn't a doctor, but her maternal intuition screamed that it shouldn't be there. With the tips of her thumb and index finger, with the utmost gentleness and precision she could muster, she pinched the object. It was a quick, almost imperceptible movement. The small item slid out of Min-ji's ear without resistance, falling into Seo-yeon's palm. It was a small black bead, smooth and shiny, perhaps part of a toy or an accessory. At the exact moment the bead fell, a noise echoed through the house. It was the sound of the front door closing with a dry click indicating someone's arrival. Click. Min-ji, who until then had been focused on the blocks, abruptly turned her head in the direction of the sound. Her eyes widened, and an expression of surprise, almost fright, crossed her face. She didn't just turn her head, she reacted to the sound. Seo-yeon froze, the black bead still in her palm. Her eyes moved from Min-ji to the small sphere and back to the girl, who now looked at the door with a newly discovered curiosity. A shiver ran down Seo-yeon's spine. The deafness. It wasn't deafness, it was that. A wave of shock and disbelief hit her. The girl wasn't deaf, she never had been. That small object, forgotten or ignored, was the barrier that separated her from the world of sounds. At that instant, the playroom door opened. Lee Jin-woo, the cold and imposing CEO, entered the room, his demeanor tired after a long day of work. He stopped abruptly, his eyes sweeping the scene. Seo-yeon kneeling, pale with something in her hand, and Min-ji, who now looked at him with a different intensity, almost as if she had heard him enter. "What's going on here?" Jin-woo asked, his deep voice filling the silence that was once the norm. Seo-yeon, still in shock, raised her trembling hand, revealing the small black bead. Her lips trembled as she tried to form the words. "Mr. Lee, I think Min-ji. She's not deaf." Jin-woo stared at her, a mix of confusion and irritation in his eyes. "What are you saying, Park Seo-yeon? Don't joke about such a serious matter." But before he could continue, Min-ji, who was observing the interaction, let out a small sound, a soft babble, something Seo-yeon had never heard from her before, and then, as if testing her new sense, the girl tapped a block on the floor. Thump! Minji looked at the block, then at Seo Yon, and then at Jin Woo, a hesitant smile beginning to form on her lips. Her eyes shone with a new light, the light of discovery. Jin Woo felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. He saw the object in Seo Yon's hand, the nanny's stunned expression, and the budding smile on his daughter's face. A chill in his stomach, followed by an overwhelming warmth, took hold of him. Was it possible? After years of silence, of diagnoses, of resigned acceptance, was it possible that it was all a mistake? Seo Yon, her voice choked with emotion, pointed to the bead. It was in her ear, Mr. Lee. I took it out, and then she heard the door. Jinwoo knelt, his eyes fixed on Minji, who now tapped the block again, a clear and crisp sound. The girl laughed, a soft and melodious laugh he never thought he would hear. CEO Lee Jinwoo's world, once so cold and predictable, crumbled and rebuilt itself in a single shocking instant. The humble nanny, Park Seo-yeon, had just performed a miracle. Jinwoo remained kneeling, his eyes fixed on Minji, who now tapped the block again. A clear and crisp sound. The girl's soft and melodious laugh echoed, a sound he never thought he would hear. It was real. It wasn't a dream, nor a hallucination brought on by exhaustion. Minji was laughing, and the sound was perfect. He extended a trembling hand, touching his daughter's face. "Minji," he whispered, his voice choked, almost unrecognizable. The girl turned her head, her brown eyes meeting his with a clarity that had once seemed veiled. She smiled, a wide and genuine smile, and then, to Jinwoo's astonishment, she pointed to his mouth. "Daddy," she babbled, a drawn-out but unmistakable sound. Jinwoo's heart clenched in his chest, a sweet and overwhelming pain. Warm tears rolled down his face, wetting Minji's cheek as he pulled her into a tight hug. He held her as if she were the most precious thing in the universe, and indeed she was. Years of silence, of wrong diagnoses, of a silent pain he carried in his chest, crumbled in that instant. The guilt, the resignation, everything transformed into a wave of gratitude and relief, so intense that it left him breathless. Seo-yeon watched the scene, her own tears freely rolling. In the palm of her hand, the small black bead seemed to pulse with the magnitude of what had happened. She felt a mix of relief, joy, and a pang of dizziness. She, a simple nanny, had unraveled a mystery that renowned doctors and Jinwoo's wealthy family had failed to solve. Jinwoo pulled back a little, his face wet, but his eyes shining with a light Seo-yeon had never seen before. He looked at her, then at the bead in her hand. Is this it?" he asked, his voice still a hoarse whisper. Seo-yeon nodded, extending her hand. "Yes, Mr. Lee, it was. It was right at the entrance of her ear. I just took it out." Jinwoo took the small bead, examining it with an almost feverish intensity. It was so small, so insignificant, and yet it had been the barrier between his daughter and the world of sounds. A cold anger began to form in his chest, mixed with euphoria. How was it possible that no one, no specialist, no family member had noticed this? He raised his eyes to Seo-yeon, and the look he gave her was no longer that of the cold and distant CEO. It was a look of deep gratitude, admiration, and a vulnerability that surprised him. You saved my daughter, Park Seo-yeon," he repeated, the words heavy with immense weight. Seo-yeon felt her face flush. I just did what I thought was right, Mr. Lee. My intuition told me something was wrong." Minji, still in her father's lap, began to clap her hands, a soft and uncoordinated sound, but one that filled the room with a new melody. She looked at her parents, her eyes curious, absorbing every sound, every expression. Jinwoo stood up, Minji still in his arms. He needed to act. He needed to call someone, the family doctor, his mother, the world. But first, he needed to understand. How did no one notice this? He asked again, this time with a pang of bitterness. Years. Years of diagnoses, of therapies, of acceptance, and it was. This? He gestured to the bead in his hand. Seo-yeon hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Mr. Lee, it was a little hidden. It didn't look like wax or dirt. It looked like a toy bead, perhaps, and Min-ji is so quiet, so adapted. Maybe no one looked for something like that. Seo-yeon's explanation, though simple, resonated with the truth. Min-ji was a docile child who had adapted to her silent world. No one had questioned the deafness beyond the initial diagnoses. Jin-woo held Min-ji close to him, the warmth of his daughter's body and the sound of her breathing filling him with new hope. He looked at Seo-yeon, his eyes still moist, but now with a fierce determination. We need to talk about this, Park Seo-yeon, but first. He took his phone from his pocket, his hand still trembling slightly. The nanny watched as he dialed a number, the expression on his face a complex mix of relief, anger, and indescribable joy. The first step to rewriting Lee Min-ji's story was being taken, and Park Seo-yeon was right at the center of this turnaround. The silence in the Lee mansion had been broken, and with it, the ice in Jin-woo's heart. Jin-woo, with Min-ji still snuggled in his arms, brought the phone to his ear, his heart hammering against his ribs. The first person who came to mind was his mother, the matriarch Lee, a woman of strong convictions and even more rigid expectations. She had been the most vocal about Min-ji's condition, always insisting on therapies and resigned acceptance. Mother. Jin-woo's voice came out hoarser than he intended. On the other end of the line, Madame Lee's elegant and controlled voice sounded. Jin-woo, has something happened? You don't usually call at this hour. There was a hint of concern, but also the usual formality Jin-woo knew so well. Mother, it's about Min-ji, he began, emotion bubbling in his throat. He took a deep breath, trying to control the trembling in his hands. Min-ji, she can hear. A heavy silence fell over the line, so dense that Jin-woo could almost feel the disbelief on the other end. What? Jin-woo, don't joke about this. We know Min-ji is deaf. The doctors confirmed it. Madame Lee's voice, though still controlled, carried a hint of irritation. No, mother, it's not a joke, it's real. The nanny. Park Seo-yeon. She found a small bead in her ear. She took it out. And Min-ji. Min-ji heard the door. She called me Daddy. She's laughing, mother. She's hearing. Jin-woo's voice broke at the end, tears freely rolling down his face again. Madame Lee, a woman who rarely lost her composure, was visibly shaken. A bead in her ear for all these years. This is impossible. How did the doctors not see it? How did we not see it? Anger and disbelief began to mix in her voice, the formality dissolving into shock. Bring her here immediately. We need a complete evaluation, right now. Jin-woo nodded, even knowing his mother couldn't see him. Yes, mother. I'll call Dr. Kim now, but I wanted you to know she's hearing. He hung up, the weight of the revelation still oppressing him. Min-ji, in his arms, clapped her hands again, a sound he now heard with a painful and wonderful clarity. She was perfect. She always had been. Seo-yeon, who had remained silent, observing the interaction, stepped forward. Mr. Lee, perhaps we should take her to a hospital to make sure there's nothing else, and for a doctor to confirm. Her voice was soft but firm. Jin-woo raised his eyes to her, the anger he felt at the negligence of others dissipating before Seo-yeon's logic and calm. You are right, Park Seo-yeon. You are absolutely right. He dialed Dr. Kim's number, the family doctor who had followed Min-ji since birth. The conversation with Dr. Kim was even more tense. The doctor, initially skeptical, was in shock upon hearing the details, promising to meet them at the hospital immediately. As Jinwoo spoke, Seo-yeon approached Min-ji, who extended her little arms to her. The girl smiled, a smile that now seemed more complete, more vibrant. Seo-yeon, she babbled, the name coming out a little drawn out but unmistakable. Seo-yeon's heart filled with indescribable joy. She picked her up, hugging her with tenderness. "Yes, my little one. Seo-yeon is here." Jinwoo ended the call and turned to the two of them. The look in his eyes was different. There was no longer the distant coldness, but a mix of admiration, gratitude, and a newly discovered vulnerability. "Park Seo-yeon," he said, his voice soft, "I don't know how to thank you. You did what no one else could. You gave voice to my daughter." Seo-yeon felt a blush rise to her face. I just followed my intuition, Mr. Lee. I'm glad it worked out." "Worked out?" Jinwoo laughed, a hoarse laugh full of emotion. "You have no idea what worked out means right now. This changes everything, everything." He looked at Min-ji, who was now playing with Seo-yeon's necklace, her small fingers exploring the texture. "My daughter isn't deaf. She never was, and for years we lived in a lie." Anger rekindled in his eyes, but this time it wasn't directed at Seo-yeon. It was a cold and calculating anger, directed at everyone who had failed to see the obvious. The doctors, the family, and yes, even himself. "We need to go to the hospital now," Jinwoo declared, his voice recovering some of his usual authority, but with a new urgency. "I'll get the car ready. Please get Min-ji ready." Seo-yeon nodded, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She put a coat on Min-ji, while the girl continued to babble sounds, exploring the newly discovered world. As they went down the mansion stairs, Jinwoo opened the car door for them. He looked at Seo-yeon, who held Min-ji with loving care. "Park Seo-yeon," he said, his voice a little lower. "What you did today, I will never forget." The look he gave her was intense, laden with a depth that went beyond professional gratitude. It was a recognition of something extraordinary, a glimpse of a connection that had just been born in the chaos of that night. Seo-yeon felt a shiver run down her spine. The ice in CEO Lee Jinwoo's heart was indeed beginning to melt, and she, the humble nanny, was at the center of his transformation. The night was just beginning, and with it, a new era for the Lee family. Jinwoo's luxury car cut through the night, the silence that once filled the cabin now broken by Min-ji's soft babbling and the muffled sound of the engine. Jinwoo drove with focused intensity, but his mind was buzzing. The anger at the negligence, the euphoria at his daughter's hearing, and a new and unsettling admiration for Seo-yeon mixed in a whirlwind. He cast quick glances at the rearview mirror where Seo-yeon held Min-ji. The nanny sang a soft, improvised melody, and Min-ji laughed, clapping her little hands, absorbing every note. It was a scene so common, so full of life, and yet for them, it was a newly discovered miracle. "Seo-yeon," Min-ji called, the name still a little drawn out but clear. Seo-yeon smiled, kissing the top of the girl's head. "Yes, my little one, Seo-yeon is here." Jinwoo felt a tightness in his chest. Years of silence, years of a life he believed to be complete, but which now seemed empty in comparison. He had accepted his daughter's condition, resigned himself to it, and now, in a matter of minutes, everything had changed because of a woman he barely knew. Upon arriving at the hospital, Dr. Kim already awaited them at the entrance, his face a mask of concern and contained skepticism. He was a middle-aged man with thin glasses and an impeccable reputation. "Mr. Lee, what exactly happened?" Dr. Kim asked, his voice low as he guided them to a private examination room. He cast a quick glance at Seo-yeon, who held Min-ji. Jinwoo placed Min-ji on Seo-yeon's lap and turned to the doctor, his voice firm. "Dr. Kim, My daughter is not deaf. She never was. Park Seo-yeon found and removed an object from her ear. Minji is hearing. Dr. Kim blinked, disbelief clear in his eyes. Mr. Lee, with all due respect, this is highly improbable. We performed extensive tests. Minji has profound bilateral sensorineural hearing loss. That was the diagnosis. Then, the diagnosis was wrong, Jinwoo retorted, the coldness in his voice making the doctor flinch. Please, examine her. Now. In the examination room, Minji was curious, looking at the shiny instruments. Seo-yeon calmed her, whispering sweet words as Dr. Kim prepared. He began with an otoscopy, examining the girl's ear. His face, initially skeptical, began to show signs of shock. He tilted his head, leaned closer, and then pulled back, his eyes wide. No, there's nothing, he murmured, almost to himself. The ear canal is clear, perfectly clear. He took a tuning fork, activated it, and brought it close to Minji's ear. The girl blinked, turned her head, and extended her little hand towards the object, a smile spreading across her face. She could hear. Dr. Kim repeated the test, and Minji reacted to every sound. He called her name, and she turned, her eyes shining. The doctor was pale. It's a miracle, he whispered, his voice choked. She's hearing perfectly. There are no signs of hearing loss. There never were. Jinwoo felt a mix of relief and cold anger. So you're telling me that for years my daughter was misdiagnosed, that all the specialists failed to see a simple bead in her ear? Dr. Kim took off his glasses, massaging the bridge of his nose. Mr. Lee, I don't know what to say. It's an unforgivable failure. We all failed. I failed. No one would ever imagine such a small, so well-hidden object causing such profound deafness, but the evidence is here. Minji can hear. Seo-yeon watched the scene, her heart pounding. The medical confirmation was a weight lifted from her shoulders, but the tension in the room was palpable. Minji, oblivious to the drama, was now clapping her hands and laughing, a sound that echoed like music in the sterile environment. Jinwoo knelt beside Minji, hugging her tightly. My little one, you can hear the world. Tears welled up again, but this time they were tears of pure joy and gratitude. He raised his eyes to Seo-yeon, who was standing discreetly to the side. The look he gave her was of an overwhelming intensity, a silent promise of recognition and something deeper. Dr. Kim, Jinwoo said, his voice now controlled but with a sharp edge. I want a full investigation into how this could have happened. I want all the records, all the assessments, and I want Park Seo-yeon to be credited for this. She did what no one else could. Dr. Kim nodded, visibly shaken. Yes, Mr. Lee, absolutely. I will make the arrangements myself. At that moment, Jinwoo's phone rang. It was his mother, Madam Lee, her voice now a mix of relief and contained fury. Jinwoo, Dr. Kim just called me. Is it true? Minji, can she really hear? I'm on my way to the hospital. This is a scandal. Jinwoo hung up, his face hardened. My mother is coming, and with her will come the questions and the consequences. He looked at Seo-yeon, a determined glint in his eyes. But don't worry, Park Seo-yeon. You're not alone in this. You are the hero of this story. Seo-yeon felt a shiver. The night was far from over, and the world of the Lee family, which she had turned upside down, was about to react. She had restored Minji's hearing, but now it seemed she had also unleashed a storm. The storm indeed was not long in coming. Barely had Jinwoo hung up the phone. The examination room door opened abruptly, and Madame Lee entered, followed by an entourage of assistants and security guards. She was an imposing woman, dressed in an impeccable silk suit, her dark hair pulled back in an elegant bun, and sharp eyes that missed no detail. Her face, usually a mask of composure, was now contorted by a mix of relief, fury, and profound confusion. Her gaze swept the room, stopping first on Minji, who was in Seo Yon's lap, still clapping and laughing. A tear rolled down Madame Li's face, but it was quickly wiped away. Then, her eyes fixed on Jinwoo, and finally on Seo Yon, with an intensity that made the nanny flinch slightly. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her voice low but laden with authority. Jinwoo stepped forward, his posture firm. "Yes, mother, it's true. Minji can hear. She always could." He cast a significant glance at Dr. Kim, who was visibly uncomfortable. "Park," Seo Yon discovered an object in her ear and removed it. Madame Li turned to Seo Yon, her eyes narrowed. You removed something?" There was a hint of disdain in her voice, as if she doubted the capability of a mere nanny. And the doctors, all these years of examinations, of renowned specialists. How could they have failed to see something so obvious? Dr. Kim cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Madame Li, with all due respect, it's an unprecedented situation. The object was extremely small and positioned in a way that simulated profound sensorineural hearing loss. No one would have expected that. So, what we're saying is that modern medicine, with all its advancements and the fortune we invested, was surpassed by a nanny's intuition. This is a scandal. Our family's reputation, this hospital's reputation. This is unacceptable," Madame Li retorted, her voice rising a notch. Seo Yon felt her blood run cold. She had anticipated the anger, but not the veiled accusation. She held Minji tighter in her arms, the girl, oblivious to the tension, snuggling closer to her. "Mother, please," Jinwoo intervened, his voice sharp. "Park Seo Yon is not to blame here. She is the only one who had the sensitivity and insight to see what no one else did. She restored my daughter's hearing. She is the hero, not the villain." Jinwoo's gaze at Seo Yon was one of unwavering protection, and this did not go unnoticed by Madame Li. She studied Seo Yon again, this time with a deeper curiosity, mixed with a pang of suspicion. The nanny, with her humble appearance and dignified calm, seemed to have an unsettling effect on her son. "Heroine or not, Jinwoo, this is a public relations disaster," Madame Li declared, and turning to her son. "We need to control the narrative. What are we going to say? That our daughter was misdiagnosed for years? That we were negligent?" "We will tell the truth, mother," Jinwoo replied, his voice cold and determined. "We will say that the truth has come to light, and we will ensure that all those responsible for this failure are held accountable, starting with a full investigation of this hospital and all doctors involved." Dr. Kim paled even further. "And what about Park Seo Yon?" Madame Li asked, her eyes returning to the nanny. "What will we do with her? She is a key witness and a central figure in this story." Seo Yon felt the weight of the question. She was no longer just a nanny. She was a crucial piece in a high-stakes family drama. Jinwoo placed his hand on Seo Yon's shoulder, a gesture that surprised everyone, including Seo Yon herself. "Park Seo Yon will be treated with the respect and gratitude she deserves, mother. She is part of the solution, not the problem, and she will continue to be Minji's nanny." Jinwoo's declaration was a direct challenge to his mother's authority and to an implicit social standard. Madame Li pressed her lips together but did not retort immediately. She could see the determination in her son's eyes. "Very well," she said, her voice tense, "but this doesn't end here. The Li family does not deal with scandals lightly. There will be consequences for everyone." She cast a final glance at Seo Yon, a look that promised the nanny would be closely watched. Despite the tension, Minji let out a joyful laugh, clapping her hands again. The sound, which was once a fantasy, was now a vibrant reality, a constant reminder of the miracle Seo Yon had performed. The night was far from over, and the storm, which had just arrived, promised to intensify, dragging Seo Yon into the center of a hurricane of drama and expectations. Madame Li, with an abrupt nod to her assistants, indicated it was time to leave. "Jinwoo, you and Minji are coming with me. There's much to discuss." Her gaze at Seo Yon was a silent command for the nanny to keep her distance. Jinwoo, however, did not move. "Mother, I will take Minji home, and Seo Yon will come with us." His voice was calm, but his inflexibility was palpable. He took Minji from Seo Yon's lap, but kept his hand protectively on the nanny's back. Madame Li hesitated, anger flickering in her eyes, but Minji's presence, who now called Grandma, with surprising clarity made her retreat. "As you wish," she said, her voice icy. "But don't think this is the end of the conversation." The drive home was filled with a heavy silence. In Jinwoo's luxurious car, Seo Yon felt like an alien presence. Minji, exhausted by the day's emotions, had fallen asleep in her father's arms. Jinwoo drove, his face a mask of deep thought. Seo Yon watched the night landscape pass, her heart heavy. She had done what was right, what her instinct had told her, but the ramifications were immense. The simple life she knew was now irrevocably intertwined with the complex and dangerous world of the Lee family. "Park Seo Yon," Jinwoo finally broke the silence, his voice low. "I know this is a lot for you, but I want you to know that I don't regret anything, and I won't allow anyone to blame you for doing what was right." Seo Yon turned to him, surprised by the intensity of his words. "Mr. Lee, I just wanted to help Minji. I didn't expect any of this." He cast a quick glance at her, a glint of something indescribable in his eyes. "I know, and that's why you are so essential. My mother can be difficult, but she's not irrational. She'll see the truth, eventually." He paused. "But the truth has a price, and the Lee family isn't the only one with something to lose. There are others who might not be happy with the change in Minji's life." Seo Yon felt a chill. "Others?" Jinwoo gripped the steering wheel. "Yes, society expects certain things from families like ours, and there are agreements, commitments. Minji's condition was a factor in many of them." He didn't elaborate, but the tone of his voice was grim. "You're not alone in this, Seo Yon. You have me, and more importantly, you have Minji." Upon arriving at the mansion, the atmosphere was even heavier. News of Minji's hearing had already spread among the staff, and curious, shocked glances followed Seo Yon. She felt the weight of the attention, the sensation of being an intruder in a world that wasn't hers. Jinwoo, however, guided her firmly, as if her presence was the most natural thing in the world. As Minji was led to her room by one of the maids, still asleep, Jinwoo stopped Seo Yon in the hallway. "Rest, Park Seo Yon. Tomorrow will be a long day, but don't worry, I'll take care of everything." Seo Yon nodded, feeling exhausted, but also strangely strengthened by his determination. She knew the storm had only just begun, and that she was at its epicenter. But seeing Minji's serene smile in her dreams, she knew it was worth it. Whatever came, she would face it. The morning sun peeked through the heavy curtains of the guest room, but Seo Yon found no solace in its light. She had slept little, her mind swirling with the events of the previous night. Madame Li's voice, Jinwoo's words, Minji's vibrant laughter, everything echoed in her head. As she got up, she felt a weight in her chest, a mix of exhaustion and a strange determination. Minji, however, woke with renewed energy. Seo Yon found her in her room, the girl pointing at the bird singing outside, her eyes wide with admiration. "Birdie!" she exclaimed, and Seo Yon felt a warmth spread through her chest. Minji's joy was a constant reminder of why she was there, of why it was worth facing the storm. At breakfast, the table was a minefield of silences and glances. Jinwoo was on the phone, his voice low and serious, while Madame Li, seated at the head, read a newspaper with an expression of disapproval. She didn't even look at Seo Yeon, who tried to remain as discreet as possible while helping Min-ji eat. The girl, oblivious to the tension, hummed a melody she had heard on television, a sound that would have been impossible before. When Jinwoo finally hung up, he turned to Seo Yeon. "Park Seo Yeon, I need to speak with you in my office after Min-ji finishes." His voice was formal, but there was an urgency in his eyes. Seo Yeon nodded, her heart clenching. She knew the conversation would be about the others Jinwoo had mentioned. In the office, Jinwoo closed the door with a soft click. He gestured for Seo Yeon to sit in one of the leather armchairs. "Seo Yeon, I know last night was overwhelming, but things are only going to get more complicated." He paused, his eyes fixed on her. "My mother is furious, not just about the medical failure, but because this destabilizes years of planning." "Planning?" Seo Yeon asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Yes, Min-ji's condition, her deafness, was a factor in many family agreements. Business agreements, but also social agreements. My family has a position, and with it comes certain expectations. Min-ji, as an heiress, had a predetermined future, so to speak. A future that didn't include the possibility of hearing." Jinwoo stood up and went to the window, looking out at the vast garden. There was an arranged marriage commitment for Min-ji with the Kim family to strengthen corporate ties. The potential bride was the eldest daughter, Kim Yun-kyung. She was always seen as the perfect one for the position, and Min-ji's condition was not an obstacle for them. In fact, it was even convenient in some aspects. Seo Yeon felt a shock. An arranged marriage for a child, and her deafness was convenient. The implicit cruelty left her speechless. "But that's terrible. Min-ji is a child." Jinwoo nodded, his jaw tense. "I always opposed it, but my mother and grandfather saw it as a necessity. Now, with Min-ji able to hear, that whole arrangement falls apart, and the Kim family won't like it, especially Eun-kyung." At that exact moment, Jinwoo's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID, and his expression hardened. "Speak of the devil," he murmured, answering. "Eun-kyung." The voice on the other end was sweet, but with an edge of steel. "Jinwoo Oppa, you didn't call me. I heard the news. About Min-ji, it's unbelievable. How could this have happened?" Kim Yun-kyung, a woman of impeccable beauty and sharp ambition, was in her own luxurious apartment, her teacup untouched in her hand. The news of Min-ji's hearing had struck her like lightning, destabilizing her carefully laid plans. She had positioned herself as the future matriarch of the Lee family, Jinwoo's comforter, the figure who would fill the void left by Min-ji's condition. Now, everything was at risk. Happy, of course, but what about the implications, the agreements? My family is concerned, and so am I, Jinwoo. I thought we had an understanding about Min-ji's future, about our future. There was a veiled possessiveness in her voice. Who is this nanny, anyway? How could she discover something that so many specialists missed? Doesn't it seem too convenient? Madame Li's veiled accusation now echoed in the rival's voice. "Park Seo-yeon is a hero, Yun-kyung. She saved my daughter. And there's no convenience in this, just a miracle," Jinwoo replied firmly, the protection in his voice undeniable. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a lot to sort out." He hung up before she could reply. Turning to Seo Yeon, Jinwoo sighed. Eun-kyung is the daughter of the Kim Group's CEO. She always saw herself as the future Mrs. Lee. Min-ji's condition made her even more indispensable to me, in my family's view. Now she sees you as a threat. Seo Yeon felt the weight of all this. She was no longer just a nanny. She was a piece on the Lee family's chessboard of power and wealth, a piece that had turned the game upside down. She had brought a miracle, but also a storm. "I understand, Mr. Lee," Seo-yeon said, her voice stronger than she expected. "But I won't let this affect Minji. She deserves to have a full life with her hearing, and I will do whatever it takes to protect her." Jin-woo looked at her, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "I know you will, Seo-yeon, and that's why I trust you, but be prepared. The Kim family doesn't give up easily. And my mother, well, she has her own ways of solving problems." Seo-yeon felt adrenaline course through her veins. She was at the center of a hurricane, but the image of Minji's smile, hearing the world for the first time, was her shield and her sword. She wouldn't back down. The game had truly begun. "She won't stop," Jin-woo said, his voice low and hoarse. "Eun-kyung is ambitious and doesn't accept being thwarted. For her, Minji was a piece in her power game, and you flipped the board." Seo-yeon felt a knot in her throat. The image of Eun-kyung, so perfect and cold, lingered in her mind. "I didn't mean to cause problems, Mr. Lee. I just wanted to help Minji." "I know," he replied, approaching her and putting his hands in his pockets. "And that's exactly what makes you a threat to people like Eun-kyung. Your simplicity, your genuine kindness. They don't understand that. They don't understand that a miracle cannot be negotiated." He paused, looking at the garden again. "My mother, on the other hand, understands power, and she doesn't like to lose control." As if his words had summoned the matriarch, a firm knock sounded at the door. "Jin-woo? May I come in?" Madame Lee's voice was polite, but there was no warmth in it. Jin-woo exchanged a quick glance with Seo-yeon, a warning in his eyes. "Yes, mother. Come in." Madame Lee entered, her posture impeccable, her eyes sweeping the office and stopping on Seo-yeon with calculated coldness. She didn't smile. "Park Seo-yeon, I need a word with you. Alone." Jin-woo stepped forward. "Mother, anything you need to say to Seo-yeon, you can say in my presence." "This is a family matter, Jin-woo," Madame Lee retorted, her voice rising a notch. "And this woman is an employee. There are protocols to be followed." She knew she was about to face the storm alone. She looked at Jin-woo, who seemed ready to intervene, but she shook her head slightly. She needed to show she wasn't a coward. "It's all right, Mr. Lee. I can speak with Mrs. Lee." Jin-woo hesitated but nodded, though concern was still etched on his face. "I'll be right outside, Seo-yeon." As soon as Jin-woo left and the door closed, the air in the office seemed thin. Madame Lee sat in the chair opposite Jin-woo's desk, crossing her legs with intimidating elegance. "So, Park Seo-yeon, the nanny who discovered what years of renowned doctors couldn't. Do you really expect me to believe that?" Seo-yeon took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "Mrs. Lee, I don't expect you to believe anything. I just did what my heart told me. Minji was suffering, and I saw something no one else did. It wasn't a plan. It was a happy accident." "Happy accident?" Madame Lee scoffed, an eyebrow raised. "Do you understand the ramifications of your happy accident? Years of planning, of carefully woven agreements, undone in an instant. The Kim family is furious. Eun-kyung is furious. And I am deeply disappointed. I'm sorry this has caused problems," Seo-yeon said, her voice firm despite the tremor in her hands. "But Minji's hearing isn't a problem, it's a blessing. She's happy, Mrs. Lee. She can hear the world." Madame Lee leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Seo-yeon. "Minji's happiness is important, yes, but the stability of our family is paramount, and you, Park Seo-yeon, have become a factor of instability. You are an intruder, an unpredictable variable in a system that functioned perfectly. The system that kept a child deaf for convenience," Seo-yeon retorted, indignation bubbling up. She regretted it the instant the words came out, but it was too late. Madame Li's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them. "Watch your words, Park Seo-yeon. You are on dangerous ground. You may have my son's temporary gratitude and Minji's affection, but don't mistake that for power. You are not one of us. And if you continue to cause problems, I can assure you that your simple life, the one you value so much, will become much more complicated." Seo-yeon felt a chill, but she didn't back down. She thought of Minji's smile, of her voice calling Grandma. "I don't have power, Mrs. Lee. I only have Minji, and as long as I am her nanny, I will do whatever it takes to protect her from anyone who wants to harm her or use her condition for their own ends." A tense silence filled the office. Madame Li studied her for a long moment, an unreadable expression on her face. Finally, she stood up. "We shall see, Park Seo-yeon. We shall see." She walked to the door, stopping with her hand on the doorknob. "We haven't decided what to do with you yet, but know that your every step will be watched, and any misstep will be irreversible." With a soft click, the door opened, and Madame Li left, leaving Seo-yeon alone, her heart pounding uncontrollably. She had faced the matriarch of the Li family and somehow survived. But Madame Li's words, the veiled threat, echoed in her mind. The storm wasn't just approaching, it had already arrived, and Seo-yeon was right in its eye. Almost immediately the door opened again and Jin-woo entered, his eyes sweeping the room and fixing on her with concerned intensity. He approached quickly, his expression tense. "Seo-yeon, are you all right?" he asked, his voice low and urgent. He could see the paleness in her face, the way she was still trembling. Seo-yeon tried to force a smile, but failed miserably. "Yes, Mr. Lee, I'm fine." The lie sounded hollow even to her own ears. Jin-woo frowned, skeptical. He stopped a few steps from her, his hands in his pockets, but his body leaning towards her as if ready to support her. "My mother, did she go too far? What did she say?" Seo-yeon hesitated, reliving the cruel words. She said I'm an intruder, a variable, that I undid years of planning, and that if I continue to cause problems, my simple life will become much more complicated. She said my every step will be watched, irreversible. The last word came out almost as a whisper, laden with a fear she couldn't hide. Jin-woo's jaw clenched, and his eyes darkened with anger. Undesirable variable, ruthless, she crossed all lines this time. He pulled her into a quick, protective embrace, a gesture that surprised and calmed her at the same time. "Don't worry, Seo-yeon. I won't let her hurt you. Neither you nor Minji. I promised. We're in this together." The word "together" resonated again, a shield against the threats. The following days were a strange mix of vigilance and the joyful routine Minji brought. The girl continued to blossom, each new word, each laugh, a vivid reminder of the miracle Seo-yeon had provided. Jin-woo was even more present, his glances at Seo-yeon laden with silent but firm support. The mansion's security was discreetly reinforced, and Seo-yeon felt Jin-woo's constant presence, a barrier against the outside world. However, the calm was only the surface. One afternoon, while Seo-yeon and Minji were in the garden, enjoying the sun, the housekeeper approached, visibly nervous. "Miss Park, Mr. Lee would like to see you in the living room. Miss Kim Yoon-kyung is there and someone else." It was time. She exchanged a look with Minji, who seemed to sense the change in atmosphere. "Minji, my love, can you play with Mr. Kim on the swing for a moment? I'll be right back." Upon entering the living room, Seo-yeon found Jin-woo standing, his posture rigid. Yoon-kyung was sitting elegantly on the sofa, a forced smile on her lips, next to a middle-aged woman with a serious and professional demeanor, whom Seo-yeon recognized as Dr. Hen, a renowned specialist in child development. Madame Li was not present, but her influence was palpable. Park Seo-yeon, glad you could join us, Yun-kyung began, her voice polished but with a hint of triumph. Dr. Han is one of Korea's foremost specialists in child auditory and cognitive development. I invited her to help us optimize Minji's progress. She gestured to Dr. Han, who nodded with a professional smile. With Minji's hearing restored, it's crucial that she receives the best possible support. Dr. Han can offer a structured program with advanced techniques that perhaps a nanny might not be familiar with. The insinuation was clear. Seo-yeon wasn't good enough. Jin-woo stepped forward, his voice firm and controlled. Yun-kyung, I appreciate your concern, but Minji is already receiving the best support. Seo-yeon has done an exceptional job. Her connection with Minji is unique, and the girl is progressing wonderfully under her care. Yun-kyung frowned, her smile faltering. But Jin-woo, Dr. Han can offer a more scientific approach. We're not talking about simple learning, but auditory rehabilitation and social integration. Seo-yeon could even learn from Dr. Han to enhance her skills. Seo-yeon doesn't need to enhance her skills to care for Minji, Jin-woo retorted, his voice growing colder. She is the person who brought Minji's hearing back. She is the person Minji trusts, and I trust her. I see no need for external optimization that could destabilize the progress Minji is already making. He looked directly at Dr. Han. Dr. Han, I appreciate your time, but your services will not be needed at this moment. Dr. Han looked uncomfortable, casting an apologetic glance at Yun-kyung before standing up. I understand, Mr. Lee. If you need anything in the future, we won't. Jin-woo cut in without mincing words. Yun-kyung stood up, anger barely contained in her eyes. Jin-woo, you're being reckless. My mother would agree that Minji deserves the best. The best for Minji is to have Seo-yeon by her side, Jin-woo affirmed, his voice unwavering. He looked at Seo-yeon, a look of support and defiance. Seo-yeon, please escort Dr. Han out. Seo-yeon, feeling a mix of relief and a new wave of determination, nodded. She escorted Dr. Han, who seemed embarrassed, out of the room. Upon returning, she found Yun-kyung and Jin-woo in a heated discussion. Yun-kyung's eyes fixed on her, full of hatred. The battle had truly become open, and Seo-yeon, for the first time, felt she was ready to fight. You can't do this, Jin-woo! Yun-kyung shrieked, her voice sharp with frustration. You're throwing away years of planning, of sacrifices, because of a nanny. Jin-woo, his jaw clenched, replied, Yun-kyung, that's enough. My decision is made. Minji is my daughter, and her happiness is my priority. Seo-yeon is part of that happiness. He turned to Seo-yeon, and the look in his eyes was a safe harbor amidst the storm. Seo-yeon, please wait for Minji in the garden. I need to resolve this. But before Seo-yeon could move, the door opened again. Madame Lee entered, her eyes narrowed and calculating, sweeping the scene. She needed no explanations. The tension in the air was palpable. What is going on here? Madame Lee asked, her voice cold and authoritative. Yun-kyung, what is all this commotion? And you, Jin-woo, why are you dismissing a renowned specialist that Yun-kyung took the trouble to bring? Yun-kyung hurried to Madame Lee's side, seeking support. Auntie, Jin-woo is being irrational. He refuses to accept Dr. Han's help for Minji, all because of her. She pointed at Seo-yeon with thinly veiled contempt. Madame Lee fixed her gaze on Seo-yeon, a look that promised trouble. Park Seo-yeon, do you really think you can remain in this house, destabilizing everything we've built? You are a nanny. Your place is not here, among us. Seo-yeon took a deep breath, feeling Jin-woo's strength by her side, even though he was a few steps away. Madame Lee, my only interest has always been Minji's well-being. I am not destabilizing anything. I'm merely ensuring that Min-ji has the life she deserves, with her hearing restored and the love she needs. Love? Yun-kyung scoffed. You talk about love as if it's your right. You're taking advantage of Jin-woo's gratitude, of his naivety. Naivety, Jin-woo intervened, his voice now laden with contained fury. There is no naivety, Yun-kyung. There is clarity. I see what is important. And what is important are not empty alliances or social appearances. It is my daughter's happiness. It is the truth. And Seo-yeon brought truth and happiness to this house. He stepped forward, placing himself between Seo-yeon and the two women. Mother Yun-kyung, I have been clear. My engagement to Yun-kyung is over. There is no future for us. And as for Seo-yeon, she is not just a nanny. She is the woman who saved Min-ji. She's the woman I love. A shocked silence fell over the room. Yun-kyung paled, her eyes wide with disbelief and anger. Madame Lee staggered slightly, as if she had been dealt a physical blow. You can't be serious, Jin-woo, Madame Lee whispered, her voice losing its usual authority. Think of the company, our reputation, a nanny. This is a scandal. No, mother, it's my life, it's my choice, Jin-woo affirmed, his voice unwavering. He turned to Seo-yeon, extending his hand. Seo-yeon, please come here. Seo-yeon, her heart pounding, stepped forward and took his hand. The touch was firm, protective, and conveyed a promise of a future. I won't allow anyone else to threaten you or Min-ji, Jin-woo said, looking into her eyes. My daughter needs you, and I need you too. At that moment, Min-ji, who had approached the door, drawn by the voices, entered the room. She saw her father's hand holding Seo-yeon's, and a radiant smile spread across her face. She ran to them, hugging Seo-yeon's legs. Mommy, Seo-yeon! Daddy! Min-ji exclaimed, her voice clear and full of joy. The word mommy resonated in the room, sealing everyone's fate. Eun-kyung let out a muffled cry of frustration and ran out of the room, unable to bear the scene. Madame Lee, her face contorted in a mix of rage and defeat, merely watched the scene, her resistance finally broken by the sight of her happy granddaughter and her son's unwavering determination. Jin-woo knelt, embracing Min-ji with one arm and pulling Seo-yeon closer with the other. Yes, my love, Mommy, Seo-yeon and Daddy, we are a family. He looked at Seo-yeon, his eyes full of love and gratitude. You brought the light back into our lives, Seo-yeon. You are our miracle. Seo-yeon felt tears well up in her eyes, not from sadness, but from an overwhelming joy. She had found her place, not through ambition, but through love. The humble nanny had undone years of plans and expectations, not with wealth or power, but with the simple truth of a pure heart and the courage to fight for what was right. The sound of Min-ji's laughter filled the mansion, a sound that was once unthinkable, now the melody of a new beginning. The dawn of a new chapter had arrived, and with it, the promise of a future built on love, truth, and the unbreakable melody of happiness.